Hello everyone, welcome to Business Analytical Programming. This is week 9. Last week we briefly introduced function and some preliminary options for function. And in this week we're going to go to more details on some of the advanced topics in function. So last time we mentioned parameters, and we need to predefine how many parameters for the function to have such that the user can pass argument to the right parameter when they call the function. But sometimes we do not know the number of parameters to be set in the function due to it will change during the runtime. And Python actually has a flexible way to make arbitrary number of parameters and the arbitrary number of arguments. So for example, in this particular case, we can use a star before the parameter to make it can take arbitrary number of arguments. Looks like there's only one parameter, but it can take arbitrary number of arguments once you put a star in front of it. So for example, in this make pizza function here, we have start topping, and how the program is going to identify is it's going to read in all the parameters the user input as a list and pass that list into the inside of the function. In this particular one, if I actually call to make pizza function with only one argument, then that argument is become part of the function. If I have 3 different arguments, and all 3 will be lumped up together as a list and pass it to the topping parameter, and then it can be used in the downstream analysis. We can actually use a mixture of a position argument with a exact parameter with one argument, as well as follow with a one parameter with uncertainty of the arguments. In this particular one, we have the size and topping. Size is the typical parameter which will take one argument, and topping, which is a particular parameter which is going to take arbitrary number of arguments. In this particular one, what we can do is actually when we call the function, we're going to pass the first one into size. All the rest is actually passing into the second parameter. So when you call the function, you can call it accordingly. To the size, always read the first argument. All the rest is basically lumped up together as a list to the parameter topping. We can use the toppings, which is a list, as a typical list in the downstream analysis. So this is a way we can actually take arbitrary number of argument to a particular parameter. Very similar to that, we can also use arbitrary key word argument to take into the function. In this particular one, we have the double star. The double star user info is defined a particular parameter, which is going to take into account all potential arbitrary keyword, the key value combinations. And the first and the last are the two regular parameters, which can take one argument each. The user info, when you have 2 star in front of that, is basically defined as user info as a dictionary. The dictionary can take arbitrary number of key value pairs, which is, for example, in this particular one, we can pass Albert Einstein as the first and last name to the first and last parameter. But the user info, you can put in 1, 2, or 3 or multiple key value pair here. We have location is equal to Princeton, field equal to physics, you can put all other arbitrary number of key value pairs here as the argument. All those will be lumped up together into a dictionary. The dictionary is actually user information, and the first, the location field becomes the key. Princeton physics become the value for that particular dictionary. And in this particular function, we define a profile as a dictionary, and the first name, that's the key. The key for first name is basically the value will be the first. The key for last name, it will be the last. And for the user info, it is already a dictionary. It has two elements when we call from right here, and then they actually loop through the key value pair using the items method to go through. So we have the profiles key and the profiles value all mapped together. And then at the end, we return the profile. We return a dictionary from the function, such that those functions can be used in the future. So this is basically a simple introduction of the advanced topics of using list, which can pass arbitrary number of arguments, that is without the keys, only values, to the function, as well as using dictionary, which you use double star to define a dictionary as your parameter, such that it's going to take arbitrary key value pairs into that. So in those two simple examples, we explained how it works. When you start to write your own functions, you can actually learn from that. But in most cases, for simple functions, you do not need actually the more advanced ways to define like arbitrary keywords, argument, or arbitrary arguments. But it is optional that you know those methodology, such that you can, when you read other people's code, you know what they're really doing. Okay, the next step is a very important one. Now you have already finished your functions, okay? And then how you store those functions in a large-scale programming, your functions will be stored separately from your main program. In this particular example I'm going to show here, it's basically store your functions into a module. Once you have your function written and all debugged, all is ready to go, and then you want to save all your functions into a separate file with .py at the end, which is called a Python module. So remember, you save your function into a particular text file, but you have your file end with .py as a module. After you save the file, you can actually import the module or a function with the module to your program, to the main code to utilize the functions. So your function and your main program need not to be in the same file. Let's do this for example. Okay, suppose I have two functions. One is getName, one is makePizza. I have already written those functions. Those are rigorously tested, and it is ready to go. To make it a module, the first step is just open a text editor like a notepad. Open your notepad in a Windows machine and copy and paste your functions into this notepad. Once you paste the functions into the notepad, you actually click the file and save. One can save the notepad into the default path, where actually it's the same default path your Python's path is going to cover. It's going to save your Python's notebook. So it is basically the library document. If you didn't change any of the options when you install your Anaconda, so you can save the default directory, which is the document library, libraries and /document, and then you also name your file as my underscore functions.py. Remember to use .py as your and then once you have the .py as your end of the file, you click on save. So basically this file is saved into the same folder where you run your actually your Python notebook file are saved. So if you do not know where your Python notebook file is saved, you can always search .py. I think the Python notebook, they're going to have a specific name. You search for that, then you know where it is. You can copy the file into the folder where your Python notebook files are saved for you. Okay, now you saved your file into the same folder. The next one, actually, you can open a new Python notebook and you can use import my functions at the first line. Basically, they're going to search for the file that has the name my underscore functions.py, and then it's going to import those two functions into your new Python notebook. To call the functions that is you saved in the file, you have to actually use my underscore function dot get name to actually run your function that is defined in the file, the get name, or my underscore function dot make pizza. So to basically call the two functions. So once you import your module, you need to use your module name dot function name to access to the function. That's when you use import the module name. That's just one way to import functions into your new notebook. There are actually a few different ways you can do that, make it more convenient. You can actually define alias for a module, make the module name shorter. For example, I can import my functions as my. Then when I call the make pizza function, I just use my dot make pizza instead of my underscore functions make pizza to make the call the functions a little bit easier. And also you can actually import a specific function. Once you import a specific function, you do not need to use the module name or the alias name. For example, you can use from my function import make pizza, which specifically makes sure the make pizza is part of your new Python notebook. You do not need to use my underscore functions in front of that to call your function. And you can actually import all the functions from your module as well to use import star. So once do that, you can call the make pizza function. You can call or other functions without use the module name. And then you can even import a specific function and use alias for that function as well, such that for example, you import make pizza as MP. So in the future, when you call the make pizza function, you just use MP. So it simplifies a lot of the ways you can call a particular function. Those are a few different ways you can import. But this one is the most straightforward one. You just import the module, and then you use the module dot function name to call your functions. And or some people prefer to use import module as a shortcut, a alias. Then you can use that to call your function as well. So those modules are very important concepts, because when you want to do something, somebody probably already there to already write the function for you, so you do not need to write your function. You just import the module and to pick up whatever function you want to use. That's the end for today, and the homework is to read page 151 to 160 in chapter 8 of the textbook. and type and run all the Python code between page 151 and 160 in chapter 8 of the textbook, and do the same thing that you do always. And at page 150, sorry, I think the page name is not right. It's basically actually at page 154. At page 154 of the textbook, try it yourself 8-12. Finish the one that is sandwich, to make a sandwich function. Finish 8-12 and submit the things into eCollege. For business 523 student, the extra step is save your function at step 3 above into a module, i.e. a file ending with .py, and then import the module to a new notebook and call the function once. Use whatever import fashion you want, but save the step 3 into a module and import into a new notebook and call the function once. Okay, thanks.